Peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people, those at home, those abroad, and those in the future. If you have two shoes, please sell one and buy a sword. If you have two trousers, please sell one and buy a sword, because now it is time for revolution. And this revolution is no longer on the streets. This revolution is not about burning cars, but this revolution is about building our own cars and selling them to make money. Essentially, this revolution is in the mind, because if we are not in charge of our mind, our bodies will be but the tools that the enemy will use to enslave us and to enslave our people. Once again, receive our revolutionary greetings from the African Continental Unity Party. My name is King Kabbalah. Here again, as always, I I'm delighted, I'm happy to have you on this rendezvous where we talk about African affairs. We're talking about our agenda, the agenda for the liberation and emancipation of us and our people and our children. So, today I want to talk about the farm animals. And this is very important, the analogy that I want to begin with, and I would want you to listen to me carefully. Since the beginning of the agricultural revolution, right, most of domesticated animals have been living in the cage. Most of domesticated animals, such as chicken, cow, have been really kept in cages for all of their lives. Now, when you look centuries back, you will see that most of the cages, actually all of them, were made out of wood. There was no electricity within the cage, and the feeds that were provided to the animals were not properly improved. But over time, today, with the scientific breakthrough, technological evolution, all the things that we know today, the economic improvement, you will see that there has been change, significant change actually, with farm animals. With the cow, for example, it now lives in a bigger cage than what it was living in before. And you will realize that the cage, the modern cage, has been provided with electricity in order to bring lights in the cage, as well as to bring the heating system so that when it's winter time, the cow can feel warmed up. And on top of that, the feeds, that is the feeding system, whatever is provided to the cow is rich, is enriched in nutritional values. So overall, what you will see is that the condition of a cow, of a chicken within the cage has improved dramatically. It has improved. However, the cow remains in the cage. And secondly, the cow remains the property of its owner. So the reason why I'm beginning with this analogy is because I want to trace a kind of parallelism between the caged animal and the African person within the condition or the situation of neo-colonization. You see, I think these two scenarios are very similar in all shapes and forms. Firstly, the white man came to Africa some centuries ago and claimed that he had discovered us. He had discovered our lands, our territories, and he took ownership of what he discovered, which means our land and the people in that land. He, after taking ownership, he took some of our ancestors, branded like animals, like cows that are being branded with iron. He took them to the Western world to be exploited, to be misused or mistreated, to be enslaved, right? Over time, he also thought of creating what we call today colonial enclosures, which is our countries, which is specific, which is actually fits the definition or the prescription of a modern cage in which we are all enclosed, right? He created Congo, he created Nigeria, he created South Africa, he created Ghana. All these were not on the continent before the arrival of the white men. But Once he arrived, once he took charge of our land, once he declared, ownership of the land, he created these cages in which we are living today, and he gave us flags, fake flags, as a way of improving then the condition of the Negro in the cage. Because before the flags that we have today, it was brutality, it was segregation, it was separation, it was racial discrimination, so forth and so on. The things that we know that happened during colonialism. At the end of colonialism, then he gave us democracy, he gave us human rights, he gave us economic development, he gave us all these theories and flags and national anthem that we are celebrating today, year in and year out. So the point is, the same thing that happened to a cow, to a chicken in the cage, it almost happened to us. What happened is that he has improved our condition, but within the cage, and he is still the owner of these cages. Now, this is the point. You may say, no, that is not true. You may be ready to die for your flag, for your country, your Nigeria, your Congo, your Burkina Faso, your South Africa. That is okay. The question is only one. Who controls the wealth of your country? Who controls the cocoa of Ivory Coast? Who controls the cocoa of Nigeria, of Ghana? Who controls the platinum, the diamonds, right, of South Africa? Who controls the gold, the uranium, the coltan of Congo? Who controls the oil of Angola? Who controls the cotton industry of Benin? Who controls all these things? It means, who fixed the price of these things? Who put value on these things? Is it you? Is it your government? Or is the same white man who happened to be here when our misery, when our misfortune began? The question that I'm leaving to you. So, if you have to do your research, or you maybe know the answer and you answer to say that we don't control these things, it is the Western institutions such as the World Trade Organization that fix the price for our wealth and our resources, then you are not in charge of your reality. You are just being made comfortable within the cage. Whether you drive a Mercedes-Benz, whether you are able to afford a big house, the point is, you are living in the reality created for you by your oppressor. So I guess the question that I have as I'm discussing this topic for all of us as African people to think is this. In front of us, we have two choices, and one choice is to break the cage and to liberate ourselves, and the second choice is to accept the cages and to surrender the rights and the ownership of our resources, our land, and everything else, so that even our kids who are not yet born, when they are born as properties of Western imperialists who has taken ownership of us and who has created these colonial enclosures and imposed them on us. What is your choice? If you choose to be comfortable, if you choose your comfort, you say that you are happy to be provided democracy, to be provided human rights, to be able to afford your decent car, your house, and you think this is all that you can wish for in this life, then that's okay. Give white men the ownership of your land, of your resources, and even of your kids. But if you think that it's better for us to be free, to be liberated, and to recreate ourselves in a way that we want, then what you have to do is to break the cage. And breaking the cage, it means to renounce on this fake nationality that has been given to us, renounce on the fake flag, renounce on fake national anthem, to renounce on fake identity which the European gods has given to us. Why do we have to break this? Because there cannot be liberation, true liberation on the continent, if we don't break away from the fake identities and nationalities that were imposed on us. Because what you have to understand is that these nationalities, these countries, these colonial enclosures were created first and foremost as a tools of our exploitation and empowerment of Western enemy. Just like the the farmer will do with the cows. If he has thousands of cows around, he cannot keep them together in one place, in one big cage, for example, because they will break the cage. What he will do is to separate them, to put them five in one cage, five in one cage. In doing so, he makes sure that they are disempowered, because five of them cannot do meaningful thing. They are weak, they are divided, and they can be properly controlled and ordered. However, if he leaves them all together, they will break the cage and create a chaos. So this is a situation in which we are living today. We are being confined into these colonial enclosures. In other words, we are being broken apart. We are being divided. We are being, reduced into a tiny group of people who can be properly managed and controlled. And that's why we are unable to really liberate ourselves. Liberation is beyond the cages that the white man has imposed on us. And this is what we need to do. And the most important thing that we have to understand as well is that the colonization of Africa, the imposition of these fake identities of us, the imposition of these fake created countries over us was not just an economic act or a political act, but it was as well a spiritual act. And it's very important. So you cannot just ignore all this and say that I will be better and I'll be liberated. No, it affects us spiritually as much as it affects us psychologically, economically, as well as politically. And in response, Pan-Africanism is not just a political agenda. No, it is just an economic agenda. Pan-Africanism is also a spiritual agenda. And we have to begin from this level of spirituality to break the cages in which we have been put, the fake identities that have been imposed on us. Today we call ourselves James, John, Patrick. We speak French, we speak English, and we embrace our countries, Nigeria or Niger area, whatever it is. We think that these are the things that God created for us and we can die for these things. You die like a fool, right? So what we need, if really we choose the voice of the choice of liberation, or the alternative or the option of liberation, there cannot be liberation within the confinement of these things or this reality. Liberation lies beyond this. It means we need to break the cage, break the language, break the names, break the culture, which is European culture, to redefine ourselves as African people again, to reassert ourselves as African people, and then from there, the light of liberation will begin to shine again over us as African people. So by saying this, I'm inviting all of you to the Pan-Africanist agenda, right? Pan-Africanism, which is the agenda of global unification of African people worldwide for a total liberation of Africa through scientific means. We are at a time of change, a revolutionary time where all of us African people have to begin doing some actions. And one of the important actions that we have to do is to embark into a Pan-Africanist agenda. Pan-Africanism can be economic, means come together, put money together, build economic institutions to change the reality of our people. Pan-Africanism can be political, means come together and form a political agenda that we have to push in across the continent. Pan-Africanism can be also spiritual, whereby we redefine ourselves as African people, as the original man and woman. Pan-Africanism can be holistic change of our lives, of our conditions, and of our society. So we have to begin from our community. And we invite you as an African Continental Unity Party to embark or to join us on this journey in your community. If you want to take action, let us know. Let us work together with you so that we can begin creating community or organizations that will lead to the building of institutions in your community that will allow us to take charge, firstly, of our communities, because we cannot change the world if we have not been able to change our community where we live every day, because that is where the reality of African person happens every day, in our community. Until we change, we take charge, and we control our communities and their resources, we cannot change the whole nation or the whole world. Peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people, those at home, those abroad, and those in the future. If you have two shoes, please sell one and buy a sword. If you have two trousers, please sell one and buy a sword, because now it is time for revolution. And this revolution is no longer on streets. This revolution is in the mind. We thank you, and we see you next time. Bye-bye.